How can you stop the pressure and stress from your work and overloaded life from impacting your children? How can you stay and be the calm, patient mom so that you can help your kids listen and cooperate naturally without yelling, bribing, punishing, or threatening them? Because yes, it's possible, no matter how busy your to-do list is, no matter how much work and stress and pressure you're carrying on your shoulders. And no, you do not have to take any more parenting courses or spend years in anger management therapy. Because the answers are not there. If they were, you would have already figured it out. There is probably one thing you're missing. So what is that? What if it didn't take any more time from your busy schedule to figure this out? And what if you could become that healthy role model for your children on how to manage stress and pressure without having tantrums and hurting people that they love the most? Do you want to find out? Well then, meet me inside this Zen Supermom podcast episode. Hi, I'm Alena and I'm a mommy tantrum specialist because I used to yell at my daughter every single day, having uncontrollable emotions, especially the more pressure I was feeling, the less time I had, the more intense my emotional vomit on her was, and that's what I call mommy tantrums. So this is not to judge, blame, or shame anybody, but that's why the Zen Supermom podcast is the first parenting podcast that's not about the kids. It's all for us moms. Yes, dads, you're invited too, but let's be honest, moms are usually carrying the most weight. Sorry, but not sorry. So how do you stay calm no matter what's going on? Because I'm getting these emails every single week from professional moms who are like, what the heck? I cannot figure this out. I can stay calm at work. You are praised for being focused, professional. You can stay calm under pressure at work. You're a superstar. But then you come home and the kids don't listen. You need to tell them 10 times to go and brush their teeth, and still they keep fighting, they keep ignoring you. Yeah. Or in the morning, you are so nice, you prepare everything for them, the breakfast, the clothes, or whatever, everything, and they are still not cooperating. And you're like, what the heck? This is not possible. And sooner or later, you lose it. And then you feel guilty because you're afraid that's what they will remember when they grow up. Not the 99.9% of times when you were so amazing, you were the best mom in the world, but you're scared they will grow up hating you. Remembering the 0.0001% of situations when you lost it and when you became a monster yelling at them and making them feel guilty for and blaming them for your anger and stress. You do not want that, right? So how? And what is it that we've been missing that no parenting technique, no therapy has ever told you about? Because that's also something that I'm hearing every week from moms who come to me. If this was only about parenting techniques, you would have already figured it out. You might have already read tons of books, tried so many different scripts. But is it maybe also your situation that your kids are too smart for these scripts? Maybe it works once or twice, but then they find a loophole. Or they just say, no, anyways, right? Doesn't always work. The same, I met so many women who did all different kinds of therapy, including anger management therapy, because they were exploding and then it was getting worse and they started actually, unfortunately, exploding also at their work. And then it even cost them like their professional career. They were not promoted or they were even demoted because they could not handle the pressure at work because it was just spilling over. It was growing and getting bigger. Or they burned out. They never yelled at anybody at work, but they burned out because it was just not possible to get it all done. So there are all these risks and you're trying to navigate and get through, just like put up all these fires at work, at home, and it feels like you're alone on that and you do not have time to waste. So what is it that you're missing? Let's figure this out. I would invite you to think about the last time you yelled, last time you lost it with your kids. Rewind it as a movie to right before you lost it. You were like, that's the moment when you were taking the breath to start having your mommy tantrum. What did you feel right at that moment? Because that's what nobody talks about. How did you feel? Not what your kids were saying or doing, not what your husband or partner or abusive ex was texting you about, but what did you feel because of that situation? Because this is the root of your anger. There's nothing wrong with feeling angry. Let's set that record straight as well. There is nothing wrong with feeling angry. The anger is only a symptom, though. That's why any kind of therapy like CBT or whatever, EMDR, talk therapy, these are amazing. But if you're going there to get help with the anger, you're missing the point. Anger is an indication, it's a symptom of your boundaries being broken and of you getting triggered by, and you tell me what you felt in that moment, but usually it's you're feeling in that moment, not respected, out of control, not good enough, not appreciated, not seen, not heard. What is it for you? What did you feel the last time just before you yelled? Because that's the root. And now, even further, where does that come from? Right? Because the kids outside, they trigger it. They push your button. But they were not the one who installed the button. Your nervous system is reacting so intensely in these situations when you feel out of control, when you feel helpless, when you feel like nobody's listening, so I have to start yelling. This is a feeling you already know from your own childhood. Say, what? Yes. That's why it's so intense. If it was something that doesn't hook you, if it's something that your system never had problems with growing up, you would not be reacting so intensely. It wouldn't touch you. You would think like, yeah, this is annoying, but I'm not going to lose my sleep over it. I'm not going to lose my cool over it. You do lose your patience because it touches something that is already very sensitive and that feels tender and that is still like an open, painful thing inside. Okay. And now this is where we need to talk about what your yelling is really a symptom of. It's not a symptom of you having a stressful life. It has nothing to do with how behaved or misbehaved your kids are. This is a generational pattern. That feeling of you not feeling good enough, feeling helpless, feeling out of control, that is coming from your own childhood, and it's a learned behavior. And it doesn't matter what kind of childhood you had. I have patients, clients who have been abused, neglected, or abandoned in their childhood. And also, more than half of my clients is just like me, had a happy childhood. There's nothing I can complain about my childhood. I have happy memories. But I learned from my mom and dad how to react under pressure. And my mom was yelling at me and my brother when she was losing it. My dad was avoiding tough emotional situations. He was getting more distanced. I have clients who have parents and they tell me, well, my parents never yelled at me. But then, was your mom by any chance a self-sacrificing people pleaser with no boundaries? And rather than yelling at anybody, like that would be the worst nightmare for her, she would always like cower down. She was always get submissive and just, yeah, okay, I will do it. Did she have any boundaries? What price did she pay for being self-sacrificing people pleaser with no boundaries? So either way, what I found out over the last 7 years that I've been focusing on generational patterns and even doing my PhD on that is that we either copy exactly the same pattern that our parents had with handling with stress. So on one side, there will be people who handle stress with fight response, with being aggressive and being like raw in your face, which would then correspond with all the hyperachiever, controller, perfectionist tendencies. Or on the other side, you can react to stress and pressure by being the one, the submissive one, the one who rather wants to keep safe and quiet and keep peace, by being the people pleaser, self-sacrificing martyr, feeling like a victim, avoiding and rather running away, right? That's why they call it fight or flight stress response. Because in that moment when you get triggered and you're put under too much pressure, your smart brain does poof. It's gone. All the logical behavior you can apply when you're at work doesn't work because your logical brain is gone, and you go back into your nervous system in your body because your body perceives it's like threat, like red alarms all over the place, da-da-da, and you go either into fight or flight. Yes? So, again, there's nothing wrong with that. These are protection mechanisms for your boundaries. These are indications something is off. Pay attention, woman. Yeah. But then, what needs to get rewired in your system is what you do next. Because this is the place when you have power over. And I explain much more about that inside my Mommy Tantrum masterclass that I'm doing live. So join me for that. Because then I'm going into details about what exactly it takes to rewire, because it is possible. You will feel the anger. You can still feel the stress. But you can prevent your smart brain going into a hijack and going into the dee-da, fight, yell, get aggressive, get angry, or into the flight, like run away, avoid, implode, and become the people pleaser, martyr, victim, avoider with no boundaries. You can stop doing that fight-flight reaction. But what it's going to take, one, you need to release that initial pain that you feel, that pain of, I'm helpless, I'm not respected, I'm resentful, this is not fair. That pain is the younger you from your childhood when you grew up feeling this way and seeing your parents react this way. Second, what you need is to rewire your brain and nervous system so that when the alarm goes off, you stop being hijacked and stop going from either fight or flight. That takes, now thanks to neuroscience, that takes a couple of exercises, 30 seconds at a time, but it needs to be adapted and customized to what exactly your stress pattern is, how exactly you behave under stress and pressure, yeah? So that's two. And third, finally, what you need is to get rid of that good girl. Yes? Anybody here? Being a good girl? Being raised as a good girl? Being taught that it's not okay to express your emotions, especially the bad ones, because you always need to be smiling, always need to be calm, ideally quiet, don't ask too many questions, or don't be too loud and noisy, always say yes, always do things the first time somebody asks you, never say no. Always be considerate of others and do everything for others, because it would be selfish if you did anything for yourself, if you asked anybody for something for yourself, or if you would sit down and do nothing. That's not okay. And yeah, that's why you always need to put others first and their emotions. Your emotions are, no, we don't need that. Yes. That's the good girl that needs to get out, that needs to get rewired. That's, by the way, if you would find any of my older YouTube videos, you could see me with a shaved head. I even made a video about why I shaved my head, why I kept shaving it for 3 years, because that was actually the moment when I realized I'm not that good girl anymore. I'm not doing things because I'm worried about what others might think, and if I need to be likable, and if I'm too much, or if I stand out too much, or if I'm not pretty, like what are other people going to think? And that's going to have impact. It's going to upset so many people, and I should better not do that. That's the point when I shaved my head, when I stopped caring about what other people think or expect from me. And by the way, that's also why I'm giving warning to all of my clients. Warning. Because I'm telling them, watch out what's going to start happening. Not only you become calm mom and healthy role model example, actually leader of your home, because parenting is leadership. We can't ask our kids to do something we are not doing ourselves. We cannot expect our children to have more emotional control, stability, and maturity over their impulses and needs and their emotions than what we have as parents. That's why parenting is leadership. Lead by example. If you're a good girl, you cannot be a leader, because the good girl is a follower, is a submissive, scared, shrank version of you. That's not who you are. That's not who you were born to be. I don't know about you, but I never met a baby who would be too scared to ask for what they need. Like, babies are very expressive, and as soon as they need something, they know how to ask for it, right? So you were not born as a good girl, the shy, quiet, scared one. Like, what are others going to think about me? No. So this is not about changing who you are. This is about going back to who you were born to be, right? Now in the adult version, not as a baby version, screaming every time you need something, right? But this is the healthy role model. This is the calm, steady leader your kids need. And that's why it's the step number 3. Okay? So for more details, more exercises, more information about how exactly that generational rewiring, what is it, how little time it takes so that even busy moms can do that, go and join me in that next live Mommy Tantrum Masterclass. And if you're inspired to listen to not just my story, I would invite you to check our interview episodes on this Zen Supermom podcast, because I interviewed, I think, more than 30 women who have done it, who have rewired their generational patterns, who stop reacting from that little girl inside who still feels not good enough, helpless, out of control, too much pressure, stressed out. They rewired that. And so how is it? How did that work for them? And what became possible for them? How did their lives turn around? Join me there and listen to these podcast episodes. Good? Because yes, you can. And this is not about doing more. It's actually about doing less, but knowing how. Yes? Rewire. You're not the good girl. You don't have to be, and you don't want to raise your kids in being good kids, being obedient because they are scared or threatened and they never know which moms they are going to get. Am I going to get today the good mom, the one who's calm? Or am I going to get the mom who's going to yell, even though I did the same thing I did yesterday? She laughed, but today she yelled. Like, you want your kids to feel safe around you and your emotions. You want them to learn from you so that they don't grow up shrinking or fighting when they get under pressure, right? So let's get this done. Well done, Supermom. And I'll see you again on the next episode of the Zen Supermom podcast. Bye.